So, new league is approaching. It's been a long time. I've only, like, 2 days ago looked at the spoilers and there was a reveal yesterday. So, like, pretty much every league by now I'm gonna assume here you have seen the league reveal and everything, and this is just, yeah, my summary of the patch notes, like a little bit of a TLDR, but just the stuff I care about is not comprehensive, or the stuff I do find interesting to some extent. So first of all, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like the left click thing happened to disaster for a lot of people. Not a big fan either. I don't know why, but fine, it's how it is. Mostly annoyed about interactions with something like Withering Stab, that now I need an extra keybind. Like I just lost a keybind, which is annoying for no reason. And I feel like there was like this interesting interaction with that, where you have it on left click and you had to, yeah, you could like use an alternative movement button and then in the right moment make your step to activate something. I just think it was a really quirky, cool interaction. So I kind of liked it. So yeah, that's gone. You cannot do that anymore, which is causing some yeah, just differences, whatever. Not all that important. Anyway, the veiled chaos thing obviously changed. Like it's called a veiled orb now. So just be really careful there that a lot of crafting guides and ways to craft items are different now, obviously. But however, you can stockpile your Ashling's lamps. So kind of happy about that. In general, it makes betrayal a bit less interesting, I find, in terms of who you get where. There's some more changes there later, but yeah, just be aware that the crafting things might have changed because there's no longer a veiled chaos orb that is gone. The campaign is going to be really dark, I feel like, and I'm super interested in like racing and speedrunning stuff, both doing and also watching. And I mean, first they change stuff in the campaign, which can be fine if it's then consistent and is interesting. Why not? That might bring some really cool things in there. But on top of that, the league mechanic is gonna, if I see this correctly, is gonna mess hugely with the campaign because you cannot turn it off. It just happens, and then you have, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, a campaign is gonna be really weird, and anything regarding speedrunning and racing is gonna be really bad, possibly. So yeah, I don't know. Not really happy about this, the league and interfering with the campaign so much, but maybe you can do it in standard then if you just want to do that. But yeah, weird stuff happening here. There's these T17 maps. Just like 5 of them, and overall cool, new content. Point is that you cannot modify them. So in terms of like picking a build, if you want to do them, it's like by no means you have to, but it kind of feels restrictive on what builds you can make. I mean, there's obviously this vision of, oh, change your build around and adjust and stuff, but I don't know, it's not how I play the game that much. So yeah, might be quite restrictive to what you can use in those to actually farm them and do them a bunch. Might be fine, still kind of cool to see these maps. Also the access to Ubers is there, which I'm really happy about. Actually, I like the keystones being gone. Like the Uber keystones being gone is absolutely fantastic, really like that. However, you need like 5 fragments to activate an Uber. So I don't know how these T17 works, maybe depending on, maybe it works like Maven Splinters, right? That you can get more than 1 per map. Other than that, you might need a lot of maps to access Ubers. Not sure how that interferes with racing as well. Like, do you even, like, is it easy to farm these then? Probably fine, but yeah, that's somewhat interesting. Also, side note there, the 5th map slot is no longer in 5 ways. You just need to do apparently 1 of these non-Valdo tier 17s, or maybe even a Valdo tier 17, who knows. Then you get the 5th slot. That's how you access that. I like that a lot in terms of accessing it because I don't need to like go into a 5-way to have the 5th slot. That pairs well with the Scarab changes as well, that this is more accessible. That's cool. Sextants are gone. I'm actually happy they're gone. I mean, it's kind of a mix. Like I never used them. It was way too annoying for me to do. But on the other hand, I like that a lot of people could invest that heavily, right? They could go full spreadsheet warriors and stuff. But overall, fine, because I never used them. Also keep in mind, Sextant rolling as a money-making thing is obviously gone as well. Like this early mid-league, make a lot of money thing in your hideout is gone now, because you can no longer hold Sextants. Master missions are gone, probably also great. You can just spec into masters and run them, because if you need to now, which you don't need anymore. I mean, kind of. Maybe you want to get a veiled thing. You can just spec into June and do it right now, and you don't have to build up missions and have a lot. Like I typically had a lot of them just left over, right? They were just there because, I don't know, I spec'd into it because in case I need it later, and now I can do this more specifically. Overall fine. Was never a big fan of the missions themselves and them piling up, and then they're in the wrong map tier, and I don't know. Scarabs. Scarabs. There's a lot of scarabs now. And it's really weird. They don't have tiers anymore, which is cool, so you don't have this upgrading question. But there's just a lot of them, and like managing them, selling them sounds awful. Like in the interface that you have to like set a price for each and every one if you're into that. That sounds kind of weird. But it sounds interesting in terms of choosing your maps, right? And if I understand this correctly, then you can use multiple scarabs for the same mechanic at the same time, making the 5th slot way more interesting as well. But yeah, that seems like a lot of scarabs. So I hope in the future, like, we learn from the system. And yeah, I don't know. Like, everything comes just from scarabs now, which feels a little bit odd in terms of choosing material. Maybe I'm overestimating that, but yeah, seems a bit weird. But overall fine. A lot of mechanics you can force now. I think it's way more interesting to customize. So that's cool. Also really cool, the invitations are free now, right? If you run a certain set of guardians or whatever, you can just do the invitation, and you don't have this added hassle of buying the invitation or not having the invitation, and then you need to stop your farm until you get an invitation again, and the best chance of getting that invitation was doing more of these guardians, but then they would be wasted. So yeah, I don't know. It was also an annoying item to buy, honestly, because it's like one of these items that has high demand, quite high availability overall for players, and you got into this spamming people in trade thing, because everybody is spamming the same people. Then you have all the price fixers in there, so it means, like, I don't know, if price fixers put it at 30C and the actual, let's say, actual value was at 60C, you know, if you spam for a few minutes or be a little bit quick about that, you know you can snipe one for like 40 maybe. So that was just annoying to do. It was not fun. That's like part of the reason why in certain leagues I just didn't do guardian farms and invitation farms, because of these invitations, of these items. It was just annoying. So yeah, happy. Way more interested in doing invitations farms again. In this case, we also do have free atlas trees now, which I'm also really happy about, because honestly, in previous leagues, I moved to a setup where I typically had an atlas that was always inefficient, because it was able to spec in and out of certain keystones. And so I could swap up what I'm currently farming, what the content I'm currently doing. But in every version of the tree, some stuff was like inefficient. Like I could swap to a wandering path one to just farm maps, but at the same time there was a lot of notables allocated, so basically wasted points. So now I can swap back and forth with them. It just fits my playstyle a lot, basically, and I'm less inefficient with it, which is cool. Really happy about that. The availability on Atlas, like this, it's not that hard anymore to just like, I want this league mechanic to appear, and that's just like baseline. I feel like I had a quick look, and it looks like all that stuff is basically easy to get to 100%, just straight up. You just go and put it to 100%, and you just have that mechanic. That's really cool. There's also in relation to these scarabs, there's this node that doesn't let you use scarabs. Like, you cannot use scarabs and you cannot find scarabs anymore, but you get 20 atlas points. So that's kind of cool. If this whole scarab thing in trade is annoying you, right? Like in SSF, you kind of need this. But if you're not, you can just spec this. You have 20 extra points, which is probably like 3 clusters with travel points. Maybe roughly, maybe 4. Yeah, more like 3, actually. For free, and you don't have to deal with scarabs at all. You're not gonna find any, you're not gonna use any. It's like, I don't know, really liking this keystone. If you're that kind of player. Other keystones going, right? 7 gate is baseline now. It's a bit further down as well. Like you have all crafts. It was a bit hidden in the patch notes actually. Growing hordes like this. I have so many weird scarabs I don't want to sell or use. You could just put them into pack size. So I kind of like the dump that is gone. It's okay. The all hands thing is gone, but Since you can just spec into the mechanic and have that master, I'm actually fine with that. I was really looking forward to use that on June. And then I saw it's gone. It was really sad. And then I realized you can just 100% spec into it or use Scarabs or whatever. So fine that this is gone and you don't have to do this weird allocating. Oh no, the allocating thing was in 7th gate, right? Whatever. So you don't have to do this anymore. This is cool. Stream of consciousness is somewhat gone, but it's basically turned into this one to some extent. So that's fine. Grand design and wandering path. Yeah, mixed feelings about being gone and not. It was very interesting, and it did lead to very interesting setups, but you were always pulled. It was always weird. Like, Wandering Path was so good. Did you... I don't know, you had this incomplete, weird versions of speccing into mechanics with it. So I'm overall fine if it's gone. I'm okay with that. I really like the setup with like infinite map sustain, like crazy map sustain with it. Need to look at the Atlas now, how much that is still possible, because I really like that. You just map and you just print maps. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, overall, pretty cool on that one. Just side note there, the mechanic blocking thing, right? These all where you can like do not spawn these mechanics, they are different now. They basically say now, okay, you can block this and you get an extra chance for other mechanics to appear, but this is now restricted to mechanics that you can block. So block everything isn't really the play anymore, I believe. So you need to look into this, how this works now. But yeah, it's more like block everything, but leave at least 1 or 2, and then they get greatly enhanced. So yeah, that might be somewhat interesting change here. Destructive play is interesting. It's now, destructive play is the thing that then gets you like 3 extra bosses or up to 3 extra bosses spawned, and this depends now on monsters left in the map. So boss rushing with that in terms of, especially I'm thinking about guardians, right? If you just, you beeline the guardian, especially the Conqueror ones, where clearing the map is more difficult than in a Shaper Guardian map, because it might be a random map, right? It's like difficult to find stuff. That is not that effective anymore. So if you're planning on strategy like that, there's some changes with witnessed destructive play things there. So keep that in mind. I've seen that Conqueror maps seem to be more common now from the map bosses. That might be to an extent to compensate for this, right? That may be true. I don't know, not entirely, but yeah, this is not a 100% chance to drop it. It's just increased, right? So, but it's way better than before. So more Conqueror maps, I guess. Oh yeah, that one is nice. That's essences, and there's a bunch of changes there. The one is here. This essences are always a 1 tier higher is gone. It just means now that you have at least 1 essence at the highest possible tier. I'm not entirely sure if that means the highest possible tier that can naturally spawn, or the essence can have. Is it always a deafening then? I don't believe. I think it's probably the maximum tier that can naturally spawn. And at the same time here, white tier monoliths or essence things, they are capped now at screaming. Yellow and red are capped at shrieking by spawning. So I'm not entirely sure how these two interact. Yet, so it might be restricted to the shrieking one. So low tier, like white map, tier 1 to 3 or up to 5, essentially because of the beast stuff, is different now. And there's no more, no more duplication thing happening. There is the corruption works different. So you really need to look into essences if you want to farm them, especially early on. Like there's huge changes there, and I feel like the super low spam essence farm thing is at least very, very different. So if you're planning on that, be careful. Safe house rewards, they are all Scarabs now. That's what I meant earlier. Like I feel like, I really like itemizing betrayal, right? That the rewards from there. But I feel like we lost a lot of interesting building your safe house for reasons that are not just money, right? Just reasons, right? Oh, I have this chest, I want to quality it, I'm gonna get Hello here, oh, it's a weapon, I get him somewhere else, I put white sockets here and this there. Like there's less of that, and that makes it less interesting and more of a general, just go there, get Scarabs, whatever, Obviously, they have different value, right? So maybe it might be worth it still. But it's less interesting to move members around for Scarabs than it is for specific projects you have. So that's a bit sad on that. I was really looking forward with that here, this Weight Chaos change to do more betrayal. So I already liked it. Still probably gonna do that, but yeah. So yeah, that's apparently the new safe house rewards are just Scarabs. Yeah, hoping for what changes there in the future that it can be more interesting and itemized. Side note, ritual gives omens now. I know in general people are not so much into ritual, but especially like the first few days of the league, or like the first, I don't know, 10 hours or so of mapping. Doing rituals is really good. So yeah, in case you're looking for omens, I don't know which ones are even left, but they are in ritual now. Synthesized? Synth maps. They are tier 14 exclusive now, which is interesting. And the Cortex only drops from synth map bosses and the Forgotten Invitation. So like all your boss rushing and general invitation farming in like Guardians and whatever, or just normal boss rushing will no longer drop Cortexes. That might actually be good, depending on how common it is. It might be easier to force a Cortex now. It's a bit less random. You can target farm it a bit more for like racing purposes. Not entirely sure how that actually turns out, depending on how common the synth maps are and how the Atlas actually changed in that direction. But yeah, no more Cortex drops in that regards. That's something I've seen, like sub areas are no longer +1 area level. I don't know what this is affecting meaningfully. Like maybe nothing, but like Val side areas, I don't know what people are doing with them. They are no longer +1, I guess. The Stygian stuff, you know, where you go into this hole is no longer +1. So I don't know what the actual impact is of that, but in case you're doing something with side areas and this +1 was interesting, it's gone. Let's put that. Correct. The 7-gate thing, the unlocking of all map crafts is gone because they are baseline now. Apparently all the crafts are baseline now. And from the list, I got the feeling they're really cheap. I didn't compare it to previous prices, but the crafting options seem pretty cheap. Maybe they're also like kind of low reward now. Because they're not always the same, right? Like what they actually give, that changes from league to league, I feel like. But they seem rather cheap, but so maybe it might be really cool. Might also be fine that they are cheaper because it's on the Atlas now anyway. Yeah, there's some changes. So yeah, all the crafting options are available. There's no more Kurek mods reveal, I guess. Unholy Might, that's for the poison people. Unholy Might has changed. Before that was a really good buff. It was like 30% fist damage as extra chaos, really good for poison builds like the Seismic Choppers and whatever. And now it's 100% of physical convert to chaos and a 25% chance to apply Wither. So for some poison stuff, this might be really, really good. And you should look into getting this buff. Be careful, depending on what wiki you're looking at. Some of the uniques and stuff changed as well. And they either have a lower chance of giving Unholy Might now, or sometimes they don't even give Unholy Might anymore. So be sure you have the updated version of a unique you're looking at while you're planning. But yeah, Unholy Might for poison stuff, really interesting. For Detonate That in tier 17 maps, so that was the Valders before and now the new ones, there's no more no more insane Detonate That stuff there. So there's a slight DD Corpse Life nerf here happening, or quite a big one actually, but it just applies to the tier 17s. It's fine. Ball Lightning of Static, it's just gone. They removed the belt. You can no longer have that. I mean, you can have Ball Lightning of Static, but you cannot have it with totems, and that was a really, really cool build. Really sad to see, honestly. Really sad that they just removed it, because it was a cool build. It looked cool, it felt cool. It was very overpowered, probably, but it's just gone. It's a bit sad, but fair enough. Punishment of Dissipation got nerfed. I don't know, 70%, 80% it looks like really big. But it was so good before, obviously just in single target, never cleared really. So it means it's still playable. I believe, right? I'm probably the wrong person to fully judge this, but if you liked that idea and wanted to maybe use this as a very dedicated bosser, whatever thing, and you like the playstyle, whatever. I don't think it's that. It's unplayable now. It's just fine, I guess. You can probably play this, so might be worth looking into this, but be aware there has been changes and they're huge. But before that, the damage was almost infinite. So yeah. For the SRS people, yeah, SRS has been hit quite a bit. So if you're planning on SRS, maybe a bit careful. The Sentinel of Radiance, that's the big boy, the Super Saiyajin dude from the Guardian, has seen some nerfs, which probably still fine. But this SRS Guardian thing, right? This has been all the rage. Maybe be a bit careful in that before you play that. Really look into that, what these changes specifically mean. SRS kind of seems dead to me now, but yeah, not an expert on this, but look out for that. Tornado Shot has received some nerfs, I believe. It's nothing I actually care about, but I know a lot of other people do. So if you want to touch Tornado Shot, be very careful about that. Check out the changes. Check out some creators that actually know what they're talking about there. And I believe even the Sniper's Mark 1. So I'm not entirely sure if that also affects the splitting steel guys meaningfully, but yeah, there has been quite some changes there. So yeah, Tornado Shot was really big, might be very different now. Make sure to check that out. Unearth, that's corpse related, like the Chain DDs, I believe, used Unearth at some point. That has seen some changes, so some nerfs to corpse life. Here, so look out for that if you're playing corp stuff. Volatile Dead, yeah, has also got a huge change, I believe. It's basically before that, if you reach a maximum number of like volatile things going around, they would just explode. So you could just summon more and more and more. And now this is no longer the case. So this might be really bad now, very difficult. Maybe playstyle is different, but yeah, be careful with VD. Look into this. There has been a significant change for sure. What that specifically means, you need to ask somebody that plays it a lot. Yeah, the Warcry thing, because we need to change left click, we also need to, yeah, make this change now. And this is not so much about the left click for me. It's just, if I feel like I want to play with a Warcry thing, then it's one more thing added, at least in my head, to melee-based characters. Before that, it's already like place 1 totem, place 2 totem, do this, do that, and then attack. And this is like an additional thing on top if I want to use a Warcry. There's like an additional animation step thing that has been added now. And yeah, I just remember that when you leveled a character like that, you were looking forward to like just clicking that. I think it was a keystone. Or still is, but does something different. It felt so good to click that keystone and just have your Warcries being instant. And that's just gone, which is, I don't know, really sad because it felt good to use, right? Not about power, it just felt good to use. So that's gone. Yeah, there has been this mastery here, right? Stun threshold is based on your energy shield instead of life. This is gone. Now you just get more stun threshold for the same thing. And that affects this unique jewel thing, where every time you get stunned, you like recover whatever life. So this infinite, be constantly stunned thing is gone, unless there are other means of making this work. But I believe it was based on this mastery. So be careful with that defensive mechanic of being stunned all the time. That might be completely gone. Very good change. Divination cards for boss drop uniques are only from these bosses now, I believe, or whatever. So that's, yeah, just boss drops are more unique to the bosses, and so makes bossing more valuable. Maybe just slightly, but still makes sense. Cool change. I feel like, you have to go kill the boss to get the thing the boss drops, and also people have to progress to that boss first, right? But it also means that some of the very early boss uniques that showed up on the market and maybe have been cheap, right, might be quite delayed. So if you're planning on boss uniques, you have to keep in mind that now if you're a very fast player, these might not be available or available later because people have to actually go kill the boss. Doesn't necessarily change the price of them, but yeah, just the availability might be quite delayed. Overall stack decks, they are far less available, or less available, at least they said. So mechanics that had a lot of their rewards in terms of soft click trade or soft code trade tied to stacked decks, like Expedition, for example, and like stuff that just dropped a lot of these, and then you stockpile them, wait for the prices to go up, and sell them. So just keep in mind that if you're planning on these mechanics, maybe double check how much they did rely on stacked decks before for profit. This might be very different. Overall, fine. I just really liked stacked decks for selling. I never liked opening them. Other people did. But yeah, just might be way less of them in total. There's some mana changes, 2 of them, that are pretty hidden, and they could be really devastating for certain builds and progression, especially on older guides. I remember some of mine, I believe, also have the flask craft, for example, that reduces mana cost during its effect. So that is gone. So really careful with that. It's easy to miss in a build guide, and you're building towards it, and you realize, oh, I do not have this flask thing. I have so many people on Discord coming, oh, I cannot sustain this and this, why I cannot cast this and that, and it's because they're missing the flask craft, and now they will miss it forever because the flask craft doesn't even exist anymore. The same, there has been jewel suffixes with even more reduced mana cost. They're also gone. So be very careful if you look at older guides and also in newer guides, in case somebody missed this in the patch notes and building around it. This is gone, right? So huge difference in mana, I believe. Also for Flask, it's actually these 2 here. The Elemental Flask no longer have the 20% less damage taken, but they have +5 max res, which changes a bit, right? It's not as free as 20% less. It's just like you also have to get the +5 now. So there's some changes around that, especially Pathfinders, I guess, are mostly affected by this. I don't see them being that much weaker. It's all fine, it's all good, but maybe at the very, very, very end, it also the Transcendence versions, but like mid to end game, early to end game, it's doesn't really matter. It's fine, right? They're okay, but this might need some adjustment in how much resistance you get, and the same thing also mostly for Pathfinders. Then just using 1 flask for additional all res has been reduced significantly. Actually, like the max tier is 20 now, and before that it was like significantly higher, so you might need more resistance on some other places, but it's not a problem, right? Like it was just so easy that you popped on this flask with some flask effect and you didn't need a single resist roll. So this is a bit different now, but keep this in mind while planning your build and using older guides, and also again in newer guides in case they overlook this. You need a bit more resistance there, and defenses changed a little bit. There's, I mean, the slaying enemies close together, the Beyond one on maps is gone, which I'm actually happy, to be fair. It was never fun rolling for it if you wanted it, and in a lot of cases it was annoying to get it because it made the map so rippy and was kind of weird. And yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's gone. So you can also no longer roll beyond maps in case for you wanted that for juicing. That's gone. And the Rogue Exiles is gone as well, which is also, yeah, fine. I mean, it's both now in the Atlas if you want them. Go. That is fine. Some of the basic tattoos are back. I forgot the source. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, they're back. They're not too interesting. There's some poison chance on it and some other like helpful things. So there might be a little tiny little tool, which is kind of neat. But yeah, there might be some tattoos you can get. I think I already covered this, but the omens are in ritual. If you want some of those, that's a source for that now. Yeah, here's some interesting stuff regarding rare monsters and their mechanics, their, you know, Dark Nemesis Aftermath, basically. The one is that the bonus mechanics or item bonus mechanics are now way rarer, right? So less loot gobbling explosion things because these stuff doesn't appear as much. At the same time, some have been removed, right? Some of the conversions have been removed, like the gem conversion, the Scarab one. So no more Scarab explosions, I believe. That's gone. I'm really sad about the all-white one being gone. Like, it was always kind of annoying when, like, tons of white items, white socket items dropped because it was like, whatever. And then you had the bait shield, right? That debated you on being the unique shield, the cool one. That's fine. But I found it really cool typically that you could just have your offhand weapons equipped with 2 fully white 3 links so easily and just solve that for leveling gems. And that's now gone, which is sad. But yeah, other than that, there's less annoying piles, honestly, of useless white socket stuff, which is fine. Duplication is gone. And these two are also really interesting. There has been these rares that randomly level your gems really high, and also the ones that give you a ton of experience. Both of them are gone, right? So also affects leveling slightly, because sometimes you hit this early rare that gives you like, I don't know, it felt like 2 levels or something. That's gone. But yeah, so less experience in total, less gem experience in total. It's probably fine. However, there are changes to 5-ways. But I don't know. I don't really care if they happen or not. I'm not that interested in 5-ways. It just might be that this opportunity is way more expensive or almost gone now, possibly. Because the rare XP is gone, right? So you have less rare monster duplication and whatever experience thing, I guess. And there has been a bug fix regarding the reset timer in groups, like the calculation. And that sounds like a nerf. They're not going to fix it and make it better, right? So there might be a huge difference now in how many waves you can get, how quickly you can reset, how many people you need as a resetter. So yeah, if you're relying on 5-ways or somehow involved with that, be warned, there might be changes. Not entirely sure if this actually is affecting it as much or not, but yeah, have a look out for that. This one had me a little bit baffled. I was like, oh, cycling damage reduction changes. Finally, it's cool. And now it's like, if I read this correctly, I can just never kill the monster. Right? Before that, I just had to wait until the thing is running out. But now it's basically, yeah, whatever damage type I have, it will get constantly resistant. For some reason, there is no fizz there. Maybe cycling damage never affected fizz anyway. But yeah, I don't know. We have to try this. But if I'm a fire build and the thing becomes resistant to fire forever, instead of just giving me a window, then this might be really bad. I don't know. We'll see. I guess you just ignore the monster. Yeah, some Strongbox changes here, right? This plus level to chest level stuff is gone. Not sure how much that's affecting people. Probably not that much, but you only had Strongboxes anyway for opening them for monsters, right? So maybe this doesn't really matter, but yeah, some weird changes in here. Arc of Surging has been a bug fix, which basically means it's dead now. It was a bug before that it like bounced on the same enemy and it dealt so much damage, so this is fixed. Explosive Trap of Shrapnel is probably still very, very good as a boss, but the AoE has been nerfed a lot, like a lot. So in case you were planning on this, probably ask Fearless Dumbo, I think is his name. He does a lot of like trap red things, but yeah, just maybe recheck with him what these changes mean over the next week and just not just blindly go into this in case you haven't checked anymore. Obviously, the Sturgeon Spire thing got fixed. It was already fixed, but then they reverted it, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there's no longer more projectiles on these spires. And there has been penance brand changes here, like this bug fix. I don't know what this does, but exactly, but I believe this, I said it earlier, overall this ships like 70 to 80% nerf, but I'm not familiar enough with this build to guess if this was actually a bug affecting it and making it good. If it was, then yeah, maybe ask somebody that's really good at that skill, but based on the other stuff, it might just be a 70% nerf or 60, 80. Who knows? Something like that. But just wanted to point it out. If you're planning on that, maybe look for somebody that is really familiar with it and can do stuff. So yeah, that's like patch notes. Overall, obviously there's also a leak mechanic. Maybe make a separate video about that, but I don't think it's that interesting to talk about much. More in regarding builds. I'm gonna do that at a later point in time. Until now, yeah, that's been my recap. So yeah, not much changed. Except for Atlas stuff. Really interested in Atlas stuff now. So that's cool. That's positive. Other than that, that's fine. Bye.